So what's the Grape Explorer talking about today? So we are back to another country, which we called Eastern Europe. But this time, we're venturing even farther east. So we're going to a country where I've had some, experience with. It's actually called Moldova, the country. And I want to point this out. Again, Hugh Johnson does a great job, talking about the world of wines. And he's got his map of the Black Sea. And you can see the proximity of Moldova. Unfortunately, it's in an area which is being really tested today with the war between Ukraine and Russia. But you can see it's right there, and it's hovering right next to Romania. But this was definitely one of the countries that was an ex-Soviet republic. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But we wanted to zoom in on this wine right here because this is probably one of the most famous wines. It's Pukari is the name of the wine. And this is a wine that I would say is indigenous. If you look at Viorica, that's the name of the grape. And it's right here. This is how to read a label. This is the winery right here, Pukari. And it's called Viorica. And that's the grape. And there's a little bit of, if you want to say, history behind Moldova, which actually leads a lot to the the Russian czars, because that area, was planted heavily with grapes because they thought the potential was there because it's near the Black Sea. Because actually, if you see, and we always talk about, the best wines in the world always come near the sea or the ocean because you're going to get that sea spray and you're going to get that minerality that actually exists here for the grapes. But Viorica is a grape that a lot of people don't know. So again, we're the Grape Explorer, and we are out to not only knock it out of the park, but we're talking close to 10,000 varietals in the world. Now think about that. We're not talking about Chardonnay today, and we're not talking about Sauvignon Blanc, and we're not talking about Pinot Grigio. We are talking about a grape that you really have to be adventurous, and this is what I'm all about. I want to try to at least educate people who might not have a chance to really learn about these things. And if I can share that information with you, that's what I'm all about. And I'm trying to say that you should be adventurous and you should go out and try to find wines. So I have a little bit of a story to tell about Moldova. So close to, I would say 30 years ago, I was approached by a gentleman. And at that time, Moldova was still under, it was still under the control of the state. So this guy represented the state winery in Moldova, and so they sent me samples, and a lot of the wines that they sent me were like sherry, and it was almost like, really, is that all you really got? And it was the process, because at that time, the Russians, and especially the people in the Eastern, they love sweeter type of wines. So that was kind of the wine of choice. So you did not see anything like this. So I'm happy to tell you that a lot of foreign investment is going on here. And this is one of the true first wineries in Moldova that you can find. You can just, Google it and find this winery, online. But you got to look at the grape here because it's called Viorica. And people would actually, be out there to say, so David, what is Viorica? What is the grape? Well, so let's really dive into that because that's the reason why we're here. We're here to talk about grapes. So all of a sudden, this is really beautiful nose. And so the funny thing about Viorica, and people say, well, what kind of a word is that? Well, that's Latin for fragrant. I know, it's like I'm giving you a Latin lesson today, but at the same time, think about that. That's fascinating that the grape varietal and the name of the wine is actually describing it. It's describing what is the smell. And you get beautiful smell. I want to zero in a little bit here because I want to talk about what I think is unique about this grape varietal that you never ever see, besides this Chateau Pukari, which I think is really cool. But you're going to get smells of acacia and jasmine and apricots and yellow apples and citrus blossoms, making a true delight to the senses. That's why Viorica means fragrant in Latin, because that is what it's all about. But when we smell this wine, that's the beauty of wine. You can smell and taste. So it just leaps out of the glass. Very different. You're never going to ever taste a wine or smell a wine that's got this kind of component to it. And but when we taste the wine, So again, you get that mineral tone, you get that bright acidity. This is just melting over the palate as it leaves. This is actually a beautiful bottle of wine. And, you know, some people said they would compare this to Gewürztraminer. I would not compare this to Gewürztraminer, which I think is a little sweeter. This is actually bone dry. But it has that mineral component that I can taste from the soil composition here. Because now remember, look at the proximity of this to the Black Sea. And we talk about this area here. And look how, so you're getting a lot of that sea spray. You're getting a lot of that mineral component that I always look for in wines. As long as you're near a sea or near the ocean, you have hope that you can make really, really great wines. And I think that this is a beautiful bottle of wine. But again, this is from Moldova, so you have to really go out and you know, be out like me and look at wines. But you imagine 30 years ago, somebody approaching me and say, watch out for Moldova. It's going to be a very interesting place. And it's like, where in the map is Moldova? Let's find this place. And I think we found it today. We showed you exactly where it is in the proximity. We're going to help these people out. These are great wines. Again, this is Grape Explorer, always talking about great wines. And we brought another one to the plate today. It's called Viorica. Cheers.